Welcome to the Heart of Healthcare podcast. I'm Hallie Tecco.
I'm Michael Esquivel.
And I'm Steve Krause. And every Monday, we bring you the latest in healthcare innovation as we sit down with entrepreneurs and industry experts.
So buckle up and join us as we figure out how to improve healthcare for all. Hello, listeners, and welcome back to the show. Today, my guest is Heather Fernandez, the co-founder and CEO of Solv, a company that's quietly becoming the infrastructure behind how millions of Americans get same-day care. Heather is one of those leaders who has spent her career reimagining how large, regulated industries can actually serve consumers. Under her leadership, Solv has scaled a national network that puts 210 million people within 5 miles of same-day care, while building AI tools that automate some of the most painful friction points in the system. Heather, welcome to the show.
Oh, hello. Thank you so much. And I'm so excited to be here.
I love Solv's tagline, Solv makes getting better better. Why don't you just share at a high level what you're working on?
Absolutely. We started Solv with a pretty simple purpose, which is how do we eliminate the stress in everyday healthcare? And for us, it was 3 really boring, really basic, not super sexy questions, which really felt intractable, which is where should I go? When can I be seen? And how much will it cost me? Prior to Solv, I spent nearly a decade building a different company called Trulia. And without going through all of that, unless you're interested in it, one of the core things that we learned was to build a better experience for consumers. You actually have to empower the supply side of the market with tools to deliver that experience. And so that's what we set out to do. In many ways, in order to figure out where should I go, when can I be seen, and how much does it cost, providers would love to do that today, but they can't. And so what we set out to build was an infrastructure layer to enable innovative providers who wanted to deliver access, convenience, and transparency to consumers to be able to do that. That's Solv.
Yeah. I mean, patients, they're using the product for free, and then
Yes.
These partners are paying for it. But there's that old saying, he who pays the piper calls the tune.
Yeah.
How do you balance still designing for the consumer when the revenue comes from the provider side?
Well, it's the whole reason why we exist. It's the whole reason why anyone would ever buy Solv, is because they believe that if I have an experience that consumers want, and this was our thesis at Trulia, by the way, if we have an experience that consumers want, then I can actually generate more revenue. And so where we focus all of our attention is where there is a win-win. And so think about, in terms of our core product, think about an end-to-end consumer patient experience integrated in an EHR agnostic way with a long tail of EHRs that exist. We started in the front office, online booking, SMS-based communications, digital intake. We moved into doing the OCR work, enabling you to understand your plan details, integrated with the EHR, and then helping you with your payments on the back end. What does a consumer want? I want a convenient, seamless experience. And what does the provider get? They get your loyalty, your engagement, your interest in using them, not just for yourself, but for your family. And so where we focus are areas where there's a win-win. And that's our superpower. It's really the only reason why we exist, to be honest.
In consumer tech, there's a playbook for growth. And in healthcare, I think we're still writing it as we go. What did you have to unlearn when you entered this space?
What did I have to unlearn? Let me start by saying so my background is consumer tech. I have a wildly nonlinear background. So I wasn't one of those people that already understood all of the core barriers that existed. But I didn't come in with the hubris of, I'm so smart, everyone else is so dumb, let me come and fix it with my consumer tech magic wand. So I'll start with that.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe one of the things I had to unlearn was consumers being rational based on what seems like obvious data. And so take an example of high deductible health plans. And if I'm paying with my plan versus I'm paying in cash, depending on my particular conditions or how frequently I visit, the rational decision would be pay in cash. There are great companies like Sesame who believe this very firmly, that there's going to be a shift. At least what we have seen to date is that's not how consumers act. They actually really value the transparency In fact, we ran some tests with our partners where we were servicing cash pay pricing. We saw higher engagement of those consumers, and then they still use their insurance. So I think one of the things I had to unlearn was things that seem extremely rational in a transactional consumer world. Not that real estate was that simple, but it in many ways is irrational, and this is more irrational, I guess is what I would say.
Yeah. Well, so you mentioned just price transparency. Let's talk about that for a moment.
Yes.
I have a friend who had to get emergency brain surgery in China.
Yeah.
And had to give the hospital in an envelope the cost of the surgery up front plus like a tip.
Yeah.
And at the time I thought that is wild. You had to pay up front and you had to tip them, and the tip thing is kind of odd for sure. But actually to know the price of your surgery up front compared to what we live in does seem like a gift. Why do you think it's taken so much to just get providers to get on board with transparency in the costs?
I mean, first off, I'd say it's not a provider-only problem. But before I get into my answer, let me tell you my version of that story. I have a friend who worked in hospital administration. She had an emergency C-section, got rushed to a hospital that was not her own. And she said, nobody touch me. I need to understand what your contracts are before anyone touches me for an emergency C, because she knew, as someone who's deeply in the system, she knew that despite all of those well-meaning physicians and practitioners and everyone who's trying to save her baby, that might put her in a significant area of financial duress. And she wasn't willing to do it. I mean, what a crazy story. And so, the structure of this is like, it has felt like an intractable problem from the beginning. Where should I go? When can I be seen? How much will it cost me? I have been saying that since we started this company. And we have had fits and starts on how much will it cost me. The reality is, with AI, we have finally cracked that nut. And so I guess my question is, why did we need this wildly advanced availability of LLMs and AI to be able to answer that very simple question? It feels it feels like it should be illegal that we can't tell consumers how much something's going to cost them when we know that something like 66% of all bankruptcies are tied to healthcare related issues. I mean, we should be ashamed as a country. And so, the complexity of payer contracting, I think providers would love to tell you. I think every time I go to a doctor today, I say, can you tell me how much this is going to cost with my insurance? And other than my dentist, the answer is no. Yeah. Right? And so the complexity is one big area, both their own contracts with payers, as well as for what services. The other is real fear. Providers have fear as they provide you with some kind of visibility into what your costs will be, that there will be some either repercussions, competitive repercussions with the payers or other providers, or they don't want to get it wrong. And so the answer has been, we can't tell you, call your insurance company. And we all know what a delightful experience that is. And that's why we have been obsessed with this problem. We call the consumer Mary at Solv, which is kind of a boomer name in retrospect, especially since she's a millennial.
Or Southern.
or Southern.
Yeah.
But how much will it cost me has been a core part of the question we're trying to answer. And with ClearPay today, we're actually able to do it in a way that delivers delight for the consumer. Right? I am going to owe $87 out of my pocket. I don't care what the insurance negotiated rate is. I don't care about whatever portion is going to be forgiven. I don't care about the deals you've done. I want to know that it's $87. And by the way, the provider actually needs that $87, right? Mm-hmm. Because the second you walk out the door, data shows that 50% of the time that consumer is not paying the patient responsibility. Right? And what better way to eliminate access than to make all provider offices illiquid and have to close? And so back to your earlier question, is we solve these problems in a way that deliver delight for the consumer, the experience that we believe we should have, and deliver strength and profitability and growth for the provider.
Let's talk about Mary.
Yeah.
So as you said, this is like the archetype of this busy mom trying to get care quickly and affordably without stress. Are you Mary? Did you center this around you?
I wonder why you would think that. I have 3 kids, not 2. Mary at Solv has 2 kids. I mean, I think there is
something. Did you have 2 kids when you started Solv?
I had 3 when I started Solv.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the reality is, yes, I am, you are, many of us are Mary. And I'll tell you a funny story on naming Solv, which is we thought, what is the feeling that someone has when they are able to get that appointment, take care of their kid, finish the payment? And one of the words that came up was victorious. We didn't name Solv Victorious, but was one of the brainstorming names.
Yeah.
And I felt it so deeply in my soul that for probably a week, I was like, that's what the name should be. And so to your point, it was such a visceral feeling for me that this was a problem that we needed to be a part of, right? Not just access to same-day care, but like I said earlier, being the infrastructure layer so that providers who want to enable increase access to consumers, that we could be that layer. So the short answer to your question, I guess, is yes.
You are Mary. Well, so for any founders out there that are listening, how would you suggest they go about coming up with this archetype that they can use as their North Star, like you guys have done with Mary?
Gosh, what a good question. How should they do? I mean, one, you better know who you're building for. For us, we knew that we were building for Mary, but we knew that Faith and Olivia had to love the product. And I'll tell you who they are. Faith is the front desk person.
Not Victoria. I can't believe you didn't name one of them Victoria.
Well, we had an alliteration thing happening. Mary, the mom, Faith, the front desk person, Olivia, the head of ops. Right? So those are both in the provider's office. We knew that we had to bring delight to the front office and the back office in order to be successful. And so what we did at Solv, it was me, my co-founder, who was my CTO, he was my partner at Trulia. We started Solv together, and then a bunch of really wonderful young engineers. They weren't yet Mary. They didn't know any front desk people. And so once we identified who our profiles were, we just made them real. So maybe this is my piece of advice. We name them.
Name them.
We name them. We still talk about them. When our engineers do demos every Friday, they say, here's what Faith is going to do. Everyone thinks about Faith and Olivia and Mary. Yeah. And we named them without having to do a bunch of research, without having to pull a bunch of data. We just knew, and then we've added information about them over time. So maybe that's my advice. Know who you're building for, whether or not one person is your economic buyer, but there are people that you need to drive outsized delight in order to get to your outcomes, and just be aware of that from the jump.
Yeah. It's almost like a lot of founders just focus on the broad market data versus like actually like personifying the user, giving them a name, like talking about them as the person. Does it take user interviews, or is it just you are Mary, so you were able to like build that archetype?
I mean, I guess if I were building for like a 60-year-old man, I'd have to do a lot of interviews. But I think when we started, there was just an innate, this is who I am. And then, as you know, early days of startup, I was on the phone with Mary. Our team was on the phone with Mary. Our team was on the phone with Olivia. And so we started collecting data. And so, no, there was not a rigorous process of, let me do a bunch of research to understand this person to start. We did a lot of research to understand the market opportunity, to look at payer mixes, to look at competitiveness on provider side and how we thought that might impact adoption of the product. We did a lot of research. But on our personas, we came out opinionated, did some validation, and then just learned as we went.
Yeah. It's that validation piece.
Yeah.
That gave that's
Gosh,
so you did some.
Yeah, of course. And then when I remember one of my favorite early Solv stories is I was sitting in a clinic. We just launched our first version of the product, which was a queue that commingled your walk-ins and your online bookings. And at the time, we weren't integrated with the EHRs. It was sort of a cut and paste. One of the features that we had in the queue was these hearts that would automate, little emoji hearts every time you got a 5-star review. And I was sitting next to Faith, and she was like, did you see the heart? And she clicks on it, and we anonymized it, so you didn't know which consumer it was, but it became so, I was able to feel how much pain she has in the day-to-day, and how those little moments of delight, not that it was gamifying her experience, but it was actually shifting how she thought about her day and that patient experience.
Yeah.
And so, yes, you've got to sit side by side with your users, really understand them, not just because you are them, but because you are observing them and gathering data over time. And that really adds, that adds to the non-obvious wow that you need in your products.
Yeah. So my mom is Faith. She has worked most of her career front desk of hospitals and urgent cares.
Yes.
Most recently at a hospital that really drove her nuts due to the EHR. It was just like the worst experience. She's almost 80 years old. And at this point, she was just like so frustrated with the experience using Epic.
Oh, God bless your mom. Like that is
total heroes.
The hardest job.
Yeah.
Is to be that with sort of working on the staff, working in the front office, because you've got the provider is pissed off at you. You've got your other staff. You've got the patients who are frustrated. I'll tell you, the launch of two of our AI products, first ClearPay, and then second Maya, which is our voice agent, have been a wild delight for Faith. I want to talk to your mom, actually. Because, you think about AI, what does it do? What is the workflow AI stuff, right? If I oversimplify, there's like eliminate garbage work. And then the other one is like meaningfully change core how we work, workflows. Like we're in the eliminate garbage work camp. And if you could see the delight on Faith's face when she looks at Solv, and not only are we saying Heather owes $72, but we generate a inhuman language explainer that she can read, right? Hey, Heather, your deductible plan is X, right? You haven't hit that yet. Based on your visit, today you owe whatever, $80 that they can read. And then they can send that explainer to the patient. It's like, how do we expect a front desk person to manage the cognitive load of answering the phone, understanding the insurance plan, looking to see if there are any past bills due for this patient, give
the
care.
Emotional. But I think that this is a population of workers who care so much about supporting patients. But what they want to do is they want to go in there and they want to make people feel safe and cared for in what can be a scary, tense moment. And so making everything else like invisible and delightful to use, she would love it.
Yes.
So I'm happy to introduce you to my Faith.
I would love to. I would love to meet your Faith. We think a lot about the AI that we've built as basically making her a superhero.
Yeah.
Totally. Should she have to answer the phone, look through a bunch of binders on your insurance plan, double check with your billing expert on this particular blues plan associated with whatever employer, and they're coming in at 8 p.m. at night, which has a different cost structure than if they come in earlier. Like, why in the world would we expect that person who really should be delivering care and humanity to the person walking in who doesn't feel well or is worried about something for themselves or their family? And so we think a lot about doing that for her. And what's been so exciting for us is we've spent many years deep in these operational workflows. AI has now enabled us to sort of accelerate on clinic efficiency, which is exactly what they want, Faith delight, clinic efficiency. Because we are so deep on these workflows. And so people ask me often, what's your moat on here? I'm like, look, building with the AI, like everyone should be doing it. We should be doing it in our day-to-day, all of our engineers, our marketing teams, our legal teams. Like, it has become easier and easier. As we think about our moat around this, it is that we are so deep in those core workflows. And that's what's differentiating, because it's not simple.
Yeah. What makes workflow such a durable advantage in healthcare? And why don't you think more companies prioritize it from day one?
I mean, it was certainly not obvious to me that this would end up being a moat. Right. I think it is the deep complexity embedded within our health systems that have wildly complexified things that feel like they should be extremely simple. Right? How many times have I talked to a startup that says, I'm using this cool tech. We're going to do all the pricing. We're going to do it on a, we don't need to talk to anyone. We're going to look at all these third-party sources. We're going to ingest the data. We're going to spit out a number. You can spit out a number, right? The likelihood of that being accurate at an acceptable level for whoever that provider is, whoever that organizational is extremely low. And that has everything to do with the complexity of the plans, both in terms of the negotiated plans as well as all of the insurance plans that the consumers have, matching the two and spitting out, and not to mention whatever services are going to be delivered. So why is that a moat? Because it just takes work and grind and time and being side by side. And that you can't do overnight.
Totally. I have an entire chapter in my book called Healthcare is Hard, so Make Hard Your Moat. This is what I've seen over and over again. It's the folks that are willing to stick with it, grind out all the difficulties and nuances, and that becomes your durable moat because it's fly-by-night operations aren't going to do that. They're not going to invest in all of the infrastructure to make something that's actually meaningful.
It's not sexy. It's not fast. It doesn't feel like, what do they say?
Yeah.
Like startups are like eating glass. I like to say that I'm in the coal mines because that is what it feels like. And as an entrepreneur, you want things to be fast. And there are areas of speed for sure. But there are some fundamental pieces around understanding front-end workflows, connecting that within the existing tech stack, back-end workflows, which maybe AI just eliminates a bunch of that, which would be awesome. However, today, right, if you're operating in today's world, right, you must understand that complexity in order to deliver that experience both for Mary as well as for that health system or that provider.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about AI for a second.
Yeah.
There's obviously so much energy around AI in healthcare. They're getting multiples that we haven't seen since 2019, but there's like so much noise too. What do you think most startups are getting wrong about how and where to apply AI in healthcare?
I mean, I'm such an optimist. I'm more like, what are they getting right? This is more my jam.
But this is why I know, which is why I asked you what they're getting wrong. I want you to tell us where.
Yeah. There have been a couple breakthroughs in terms of speed of distribution, right? Everyone's pointing to a bridge as an example. Faster than you would think, even though they have been around for quite some time. But the speed of distribution, I guess if I think about what is wrong, what they need to think about is the AI is cool. It's very cool. And you can see how it solves problems. But like really spending the time necessary on distribution and go to market, making sure that you have the right wedge and approach that's actually going to get you there. Like looking at voice AI, there's a million cool companies. What's going to happen? I don't know. Right. And so are you distributing through EHRs? Are you distributing tops down through hospital systems? And if systems, where in the system? I would recommend that you go to the people who are most powerful, whether it's the C-suite or, your neurosurgeon. Getting really specific. The tech has made the build so fun and fast that I think one mistake might be just spending enough time being extremely precise and understanding your wedge on that go-to-market.
It's almost like we traditionally have had a lot more time on the to work out strategy because these software builds took a long time. Yeah. And so in parallel, your business team, your strategy folks were able to think about distribution and sales. And now these products and plug and play tools have just drastically lowered the barrier to entry and enabled these products to get built so much faster. So how can we think about either speeding up the strategy or just ensuring that, as you said, we're not skipping some of these pieces that ensure longevity of a tool?
Yeah, it certainly won't happen sequentially because no one has time to wait. And I think that is true. There are so many products popping up and it's such fast moving waters that you really do have to move. But you have to be persistently thinking, what is my go-to-market moat? Or what was my go-to-market wedge? And then being very disciplined on evaluating your different go-to-market wedges and then getting opinionated on where do we sprint. Because it'll be very easy to spray and pray. Mm-hmm. And I guess with all the money that you're able to raise, you can spray and pray for a while, but eventually that will catch up to you.
Totally. It's funny, all of like our I don't know, digital health 1.0 founders selling to hospitals are looking around. They're like, wait a minute, you have money for these tools? Like selling to hospitals when we started in this space. When we started, it was impossible. Investors wouldn't back companies selling to hospitals because they would say the contract time is too long, their pockets aren't deep enough. It's impossible to move from pilot. And the adoption and the willingness to use these tools is completely had a complete 180.
That's right. I mean, look, and like what a cool moment to build. We just had our kickoff for the second half of the year in our all hands meeting. Before that, I looked at our beginning of the year kickoff. We have done so much more than we thought possible at the beginning of the year. Not just in terms of products shipped and revenue generated, but also in terms of how we operate as a team. It's like,
explain what you mean by that.
I mean, everyone, certainly the engineers who have been at the front end, right? Whether it's Cursor or just using AI and playing with LLMs to figure out how can I do something faster than I used to do, right? Today, right, I look at my marketing team who are building no-code landing pages for us to better, more quickly generate demand for our products. I look at my legal team who's using GCAI, right, and has eliminated probably half of our external legal spend, right? Because again, it's the easier work that's getting knocked out, right? It's just sort of pervasive across the company. I think about our partner success team and how much easier it is because we're using AI internally to identify what is going on with a particular partner, not just at the high level, but actually all the way down into their core workflows. It's just how we operate has changed so fundamentally. And when I look back 6 months from now, I think I'll have the same realization. And so if you're starting brand new, how fun. Like the intractable problems.
No legacy.
Yeah. So the intractable problems, maybe they're tractable, right? And you have the capacity. You don't need a lot of people to figure it out, right? You have the investor liquidity in order to fund your experimentation. And many more things will be possible than I think, we've even considered. And so I think what a fun time.
Yeah, well, it's a great time. I'm curious what you have done as a CEO to encourage use of AI for employees to be more effective at their jobs. And then also how you vet the tools and decide which tools to use and which ones not to use, how to trust certain tools and not others. Do you leave that up to the employees? Is there like an AI SWAT team in the company that's helping do this? Tell us more.
I mean, look, I think how rigorous you are on these things obviously depends on the space you're in, depends on the scale of company, also depends on what kind of data. Right? When you're talking about clinical work and patient data, obviously your security needs to be all the way up. Right?
Yeah.
So I guess I'll just start with that. Right? I'm on the board of a public company. I have seen the rigor that comes from evaluating the tools, centralizing the approvals while enabling your technical folks a playground so that they can be deep in how quickly things are changing. Right? And then I see what we did at Solv, where we have been very focused on patient privacy and security. And we wanted to be at the very beginning of what was possible so that everyone, not just our engineers, were putting their hands on the tools in order to work faster, work smarter, get rid of the dumb work.
Yeah.
Who wants to do dumb work? Nobody, right? And so early on, obviously our engineering team, but when we looked at ChatGPT, we very early got a HIPAA-compliant ChatGPT instance. We immediately gave access to everyone across the company, right? We started with everyone just play. We opened up a channel that said, share cool shit that you're doing, right? Because we don't actually know what's possible. So just start sharing. Again, early on.
In Slack, you mean, share.
Yeah, in Slack, go ahead and share.
So inspiring others like, oh, that's an interesting way you used this.
Yes.
And
I mean, our leadership team, I think about my CTO, who we've been thinking about a really hard product that we have been focused on for a long time. It's got a lot of complexity. He built a quick prototype using AI. Shared it in the channel. So you just need, and not in a bragging way, but in a like, look at this simple thing I did in
show and tell.
Yeah, or in a show and tell way.
Yeah.
Right. And so if we actually did this right, look at how powerful this could be after we've been knocking our heads against a wall on this problem. So that's give access at the appropriate securities. Second was like create channels for visibility. So one was the Slack channel. Second is our weekly demo, where in demo, it's everyone across the company has an opportunity to sort of show what you've shipped that week. That's always been a part of Solv. Cool. Increasingly, that became not just the product or collateral or customer facing thing that you shipped, but it was a thing that I've tested or that I've played with an AI, and I just want to show you. I think making that more cultural, and then you've seen a lot of CEOs say, you must AI yourself or I'll fire you. We haven't done that. Because we have found that sort of as you make
Seems
it
harsh.
Part of the culture, actually, people will naturally lean in and some won't. And, it's just been a great accelerant for us, which has been exciting, energizing as a founder.
So carrot-based versus fear-based, incentives to using it.
I mean, look, we have one of our teams is our integrations team using a lot of agents around workflow automation. All of a sudden in demo, we have it's a small team. And all of a sudden in demo, every week, they're shipping 3 new automations. And everyone's like, whoa. Yeah. So it sort of organically happened that everyone saw what was happening. And then very clearly through our call to action, but also because we hire curious, sort of hard charging, intense people, started using it in their day to day.
I'm impressed that you got legal to use it.
I think actually legal is one of our one of our internal non-technical leaders using AI. And again, I think it's because our head of legal is this should be better. She's this awesome woman, no nonsense. She's like, get rid of the dumb work and let me just move faster.
So to close for today, I'd love to ask you if a founder came to you saying, I want to build something meaningful in healthcare, what would you tell them to do first?
What would I tell them to do first? I would say, give yourself the time to dream about the intractable problems that we have in healthcare, and then just start building, just start playing against those problems. I think for a long time in healthcare, there are problems that we have not touched. I mean, you talk about your mom's frustration with Epic. Not that I'm saying there's going to be an AI first Epic or Athena or something else, but if there was a moment where there might be an opportunity to either partner with those companies or really rethink all of it, it's now. We've spent a lot of our time at Solv basically making the EHRs better, making Fate's experience better with our EHR. Maybe there's a different way. So my advice would be, don't skip the being dreamy part, and the intractable problems might actually be tractable today, right? And then don't spend a ton of time intellectually researching. Start by doing and learning. Your research is by doing.
Love it. Well, Heather, thank you so much. It was fun having you today.
Thank you. I really love being here. It's great to see you again.
Thanks for listening to The Heart of Healthcare. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to support the podcast, please leave a rating and review. And don't forget to subscribe. The Heart of Healthcare is produced by Hallie Tecco and hosted by Michael Esquivel, Steve Krause, and Hallie Tecco. The show is engineered, edited, and mixed by Kyle Moore. Visit our website, heartofhealthcarepodcast.com, for show notes and details.
Shopify's point of sale system helps you sell at every stage of your business. Need a fast and secure way to take payments in person? We've got you covered. How about card readers you can rely on anywhere you sell?
Thanks. Have a good one.
Yep, that too. Want one place to manage all your online and in-person sales? That's kind of our thing. Wherever you sell, businesses that grow with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 a month trial at shopify.com/listen. Shopify.com/listen.
Yes, Mr. Gecko, you're a huge inspiration to us all. But who was your muse?
Oh, my dear old Nan. She imparted many wise words to me. She would say, never let the fame get to your head, always remember who you are, and let people get more than just savings with Geico's fast and friendly claim support. I lived up to her advice, and now anyone can file a claim anywhere and anytime. I miss her so much.
Did she go somewhere?
Yeah, extended quilting trip.
Ah.
Get more than just savings. Get more with Geico.